Hello everyone, welcome back to Fraud on the Telly. In today's video, we'll be answering a very interesting question. Was Critical Role's EXU Calamity scripted? Now, before you all get your pitchforks and torches out, yes, there really are a small section of people who believe that EXU Calamity was scripted in some kind of way. And to be completely fair to them, there's definitely moments throughout this show that had me wondering as well. I shouldn't even have to say this, but obviously this video will contain spoilers for EXU Calamity. As always, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Join me as we answer the question, was EXU Calamity scripted? Well, you see, the easy answer is no. No, it wasn't. I mean, you think that these tears are scripted. How about this classic Travis freakout, or maybe even this Abria reaction? Now that was simple enough, but it doesn't really answer the question, does it? You see, there are moments throughout the show that really did make me pause for a second and go, whoa, hold up now. That seemed a little too good to be true. Is this show scripted? Was that event predetermined? Let's start with the Astral Layrite, a machine that Abrian Iyengar's character Laren created in order to change the ley lines of Exandria, moving Avalier to anywhere in the, I guess, world existence that she wished. You see, this machine and Laren in general, from episode 1 to 4, went from Exandria's downfall to Exandria's savior. Or, let's take Xerxes' interactions with the Lord of the Hells, Asmodeus. Why would this character, a paladin mind you, trust the father of lies so easily? Why would he allow himself to be manipulated to become the chosen champion of Asmodeus? Why would he be the one that personally grabs the Lord of the Hells by the hand, pulling him into the realm of Exandria? What player character would do this? Or perhaps then the unlikely resurrection of basically the whole party by Vespin Koras and Xerxes. Perhaps Travis's nat 20 to kill Vespin Koras, saving Laren. How would the story have changed if the entire party wasn't resurrected here? How would it change if Vespin Koras was allowed to cast his spell on Laren there at the end? You see, it's interesting because we already know how the Calamity plays out. This is a prequel after all. Last time I checked, there were no primordials in the Calamity. You know, maybe it's possible it is scripted. The cast are, in fact, a group of trained actors and professional role players. Maybe someone simply gave them a script, told them to play a character. Maybe all these tears are fake. Maybe Travis is actually not a D&D fucking nerd after all, and all the die rolls are probably fudged as well. Or maybe, just maybe, there's a simpler answer than that. Perhaps this group of knuckleheads is just really fucking lucky, who also happen to be fantastic role players, and oh yeah, most importantly, they have a god-tier DM. Yep, that's right, Brennan's actually so good, people legitimately question if EXU Calamity was scripted. Now, what exactly do I mean by this? You see, those in the tabletop business refer to what Brennan is doing here as a concept known as railroading. Now, what is railroading, you might ask? It's a concept in tabletop games where the GM or DM moves the story, the plot of the story, in a way that they want it to go. Generally, this happens whenever players are, well, dallying. A lot of times, though, this term carries a lot of negative connotations, as many players view railroading as a bad thing because there's always that one DM horror story. A lot of times, though, this is just not the case. I'm sure we've all been in games with certain players that are just, well, get a bit sidetracked. You see, Brennan has a story that he wants to tell here. That's the interesting thing about EXU Calamity. It's a prequel. We already know how a lot of stuff is going to happen. Technically, we know how the story's going to end. We know that Avalier is going to fall from minute 1, episode 1 of the series. We know that Vespin Koras will release the Betrayer Gods. And we know that most likely not all our cast members are going to survive this story. What we don't know then is how it's all going to happen. Many outcomes in the story are simply just predetermined. For example, the Lord of the Hells was always going to come through that portal near the Tree of Names. It was just a matter of time and how. Now, I'm going to do a little bit of assuming here, but I would say this same logic applies to the Great Primordials. They were never going to be released. In fact, they couldn't be released. If we were to take the Oracle's word, this would cause the destruction, the end of Exandria as we know it. But seeing as we know the Calamity ends, and like I said earlier, I don't think there were any primordial beings released in the Calamity. This basically had to not happen. There was no way that it could happen. Let's take that crazy scene between Xerxes and Vespin Chorus where the party is revived as another example. Did these revives really matter? Was it inevitable that they would be revived regardless of what Xerxes did in some kind of way? Well, if we believe that Brennan would in fact never set the Primordials loose, basically changing the history of Exandria as we know it, then no, the revives didn't matter at all. Whether it was one character left or the whole party, it seems as though the outcome was gonna be the same. Now, I could be completely wrong here. I'm trying to assume intention on Brennan's part. But remember, this is a show for entertainment that they're putting on for, millions of fans. That's not to say that all character choices and outcomes didn't matter in this show, but for obvious narrative reasons, a lot of them couldn't. Unless we believe that Brennan would just let them all fail and end the series prematurely. Can you imagine if EXU Calamity just ended in episode 2 or 3 because they messed up? Yeah, it doesn't seem likely, right? Imagine Asmodeus just TPKs the party with his sheer presence and that's just the end of the story. Yeah, it would be a bit of a letdown, wouldn't it? See, Brennan does an amazing, almost psychic job of manipulating and predicting his player character's actions. As we mentioned in our finale reaction video, basically all of the cast members' characters have a central trait to them that defines them and shapes how they make decisions. For example, Laren's genius, her hubris. This is what makes her capable of doing so much good in the world of Avalier. But because she's been so successful, her ambition and her genius blind her to the obvious perils that she pursues. All of her decisions with the Tree of Names and her view of the Tree of Names. You see, Brennan did this very intentionally. The way the calyx and the tree were presented to Laren's character, it only makes sense that she would choose the actions that she chooses. 1, to deny it the power of the tithe, basically ensuring the tree is dead, and 2, to finish it off with a blast of blight. You see, from her character's perspective, with her genius and her ambition, she thought the tree was simply in her way. She thought it was something that the druids were doing to prevent her from achieving her life's mission. Further evidence that Brennan does this is basically every interaction between the paladin Xerxes and Asmodeus, the Lord of the Hells. You see, Xerxes is far too trusting and naively believes that anyone has the ability to be redeemed. This belief would ultimately be his downfall as he extends this grace, this belief to Asmodeus, who in a rage kills him and revives him, kills him and revives him over and over again until finally setting his soul free. Quick side note, it's kind of funny now that I think about this. This really does bear a lot of parallels to what happens later in the Calamity between Asmodeus and the prime deity Sarenrae. You see, Sarenrae, like Xerxes, believed that all beings were capable of redemption. Like in the Calamity, Sarenrae would offer this redemption to Asmodeus. Asmodeus, wanting to save his life, takes advantage of Sarenrae's naivety, showing her, in fact, that no, not everyone can be redeemed, as he destroyed all of her mortal followers in one fell swoop. You see, Brennan knows that Luis as a player will stick to Xerxes' character traits. Then manipulating him with a character who is labeled the Father of Lives seems quite easy, doesn't it? If you know the character is always looking for redemption in the person that they're talking to, that knowledge goes a long way. So was EXU Calamity scripted, or is Brennan just a god DM with a group of players who committed hard to their roleplay? In a sense, this is not a whole lot different from a DM wanting to run a book, a campaign story guide. The only major difference is your home game isn't put on the internet for millions of people to watch. We gotta remember that this is a show for entertainment. I gotta imagine if this game was played with the cameras off, Brennan would be a lot more brutal. So no, the EXU Calamity was most likely not scripted. The fact that it can feel that way is merely a testament to the commitment of the role players and the talent of the DM. I mean, you tell me, does this look like the face of a man who had a script? Why would he be so surprised? Nope, I'd say that's a classic Travis surprise reaction if I've ever seen one. This video was just supposed to be a bit of fun and a way for me to show you guys just how amazing Brenna Lee Mulligan is as a DM and a storyteller, and how amazing the entire cast are. Don't forget to check out our other Critical Role and EXU Calamity content, follow my socials to stay up to date with everything we're doing, and I'll see you all in the next one. Stay safe out there. Peace, love, adu.